This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also for the most part unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 83rd time ever, we are alive. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Reviewing Network Live. Coming to you late tonight. Of course, if you haven't been watching the other videos I've been doing on the other channel, Steel City Con was this past weekend, and it's usually a very hectic, very time-consuming situation for me because my focus is getting the show together and getting all of our stuff together. And as I've said in the movie stuff episode that came out not too long ago, which was actually one of the lesser stress-reducing events that we've ever had to do. Like, this was one of the few times where it really was not as much of a hassle as it usually is what I'm trying to say. I talked about it in the video before, but yeah, it was a good time overall. We did pretty well. We sold a lot of stuff. Very interesting things happened during the course of that weekend in terms of the guests they had. Some things I was doing for that particular weekend, which I don't usually do, but like I said, you can go check out that episode of Movie Stuff over on the main channel if you want to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's why this is getting kind of late because I'm still recovering from the day of packing everything up and then getting it to where it needs to go for the next show in August. So yeah, it's been about 5 hours since we officially finished up everything. Everything's put to the side, and now we can go ahead and move on with our lives until mid-August when we have to do this all over again. But it's a good time overall. I mean, it's a good time overall because you make a little extra cash, and anything you can do to make money, that's really what you got to do here. But yeah, it would be nice if I could just do a regular, simple weekend box office recap, recommendations, and get the hell on out of here. But unfortunately, life does not work that way sometimes. The movie Dogman pretty much said it best. Life's not fair. Life's not fair. I mean, but of course, this week was a big week for movie news because we just had CinemaCon. The week started off with a big story that was something that I was still skeptical about it actually happening, but it has now happened, and we'll get to all that in just a moment. The box office was interesting this weekend, specifically for the #1 movie, which yeah, and I'm probably going to be eating a lot of crow for what I said in my review for the #1 movie, but let's get to the weekend box office, because that is one of the more intriguing stories this week, especially with the #1 film. So let's just jump on into it. Number 5 this week, number 4 last week, The Woman in the Yard, which brought in $4.5 million this weekend, dropping 52%. Typical drop for a horror movie, bringing its total up to $16.6 million, which the budget on this movie I don't think was that. I think it was only $15 million if I'm not mistaken. Less than that, $12 million. So yeah, they're fine. They're gonna make their money back on this, no doubt about it. Even though the international numbers are not looking too promising, but like I said, it's a $12 million movie. They've made their budget back. They're good to go on that one. Not so very good is the number 4 movie this week, and that is Snow White. And yeah, it's a dud. It's a box office dud. The movie was not that bad. I will keep saying that until the day I die. The movie was not that bad, but evidently audiences decided to go ahead and fund a much lesser movie, in my opinion. I mean, Snow White is really falling off at this point. $6 million this weekend, dropping 57% from last week. $77.4 million after 3 weeks. It's worldwide gives up to $168 million, which it still has a long way to go to even try to get back to that budget of $240 to $260 million. It's not going to happen, and we're starting to see some of the repercussions of that maybe people are getting sick and tired of these fucking live action remakes, which I've said before in the past that I'm not one of those people that is going to completely bash a live action remake of a Disney movie. And even the worst one, even though this one's not even one of the worst ones, but I just think that I think Disney is finally getting the hint that maybe we're sick and tired of these. But well, I'm going to explain why when we get to the news stories, because one live action remake in particular is in the forefront of the storylines this week that we have here. But we'll get to that until is later on the show. But number 3, The Chosen Last Supper Part 2, the second part of the Chosen movies, which we had the first part of The Last Supper last week that made it into the top 5, which made $11 million. This one didn't make quite as much money, $6.7 million, but considering lack of advertising and the fact that they just got this whole thing out there the way they did, it did pretty well for what it was trying to do. Actually, now I see that The Chosen Last Supper is in the top 10 still, but it dropped 84% from last week. Obviously, with the new film out, $1.8 million this week, $17.9 million after 2 weeks, which it's not a big deal for them. They'll live. So anyway, number 2 this week, number 1 last week, and that is Jason Statham's A Working Man, which dropped 53% from last week, $7.3 million, bringing its 2-week total to $27.8 million. The worldwide gross is up to $44.4 million. I believe this one had a $40 million budget, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. I was wrong on the Woman in the Yard. I was right on this one, $40 million. So yeah, they're good on that front. They made their money back. Even though this isn't going to do as well as The Beekeeper did. I mean, The Beekeeper had the benefit of a lackluster schedule of movies that were coming out around that time. And this, hey, they made their budget back of $40 million. They're going to make their money back going forward. So another success for Amazon MGM, who had a pretty good week at CinemaCon. And we'll get to that in just a second. But, oh boy. Oh god. Number 1 this weekend. Number 1 is on the one hand, it's not a shocker that this movie that I'm about to talk about here did as well as it did. Let's talk about that movie, and that is the a Minecraft movie, which is a perfect amalgamation of the movie itself. So I've been building up the last couple weeks thinking that this movie was not going to be the big game changing hit that it eventually did become. I was thinking to myself, well, Minecraft doesn't really have that much of a following anymore. Minecraft doesn't really have that juice that it had 10 years ago. It's kind of a fad that's died away, and for the longest time I thought that was still the case. And then the numbers just started coming out on Friday, like on Friday it made 53 million, I think 58, it was either 53 or 58 million dollars on Friday alone. And then 60 million on Saturday. And then it had the typical Sunday drop of $39 million. All in all, a Minecraft movie made $157 million fucking dollars at the box office. And if you include the worldwide gross, it's $301 million worldwide. And guess what the budget on this movie was? Take a wild guess right now before I tell you what it is. You got an answer? Okay, I'll tell you what it is right now. $150 million. So, in one weekend, they've already made their budget back on this movie. And people bought into it. A Minecraft movie broke several box office records, and I don't think as the year began, I never would have thought in a million years that a Minecraft movie would break that type of record as it did. And good lord, let's just say that I'm preparing to eat a bowl of steaming crow because I've been talking smack about the movie before it came out. And I gave the movie a chance. I saw the movie on Saturday. I gave it a chance to see, okay, maybe you have an opportunity to change it around here. Maybe you can actually do something here. Maybe you can actually make a difference in this world and actually prove me wrong. And, for a movie that made over $157 million, this movie better be worth it. And it's not. It really, really is not. I mean, this is a movie that I'm shocked this movie did as well as it did, because I just don't get it. I don't get why people were so invested in this particular movie. Like, why this one? We had so many good movies come out in the last 3 months that nobody even bothered to go and see. But we're gonna put it all into this movie right here. This boring, unfunny, stupid movie that I cannot believe anybody thinks that this would be entertainment at all. Half of the script is nothing but we want to create memes. Like, this whole movie, you know what this movie felt like? This movie felt like a film that was made solely with the purpose by a TikTok clout chaser. That's what it felt like, because even the trailers, the first trailer that came out during Beetlejuice, what was the big thing everyone was talking about? Jack Black going, "I am Steve," and that just became the meme, and I'm baffled. I'm baffled at how this movie did so well. It surpassed the Super Mario Brothers movie, which made $146 million, and that opened up on a Wednesday, so take that for what you will, but 3 days, it made $146 million, and I thought that was never going to be topped whatsoever, but of all things, Minecraft? Minecraft did this? Like, I don't get it, man. I just don't get it at all. Like, I really don't understand it. Like, it's still baffling to me how this movie did so well. I mean, like, and I said in my review, like, it's like this movie and Snow White, I felt like are two very. I felt like both Snow White and Minecraft were basically kind of like the equivalent of a high school show and tell, where Snow White was trying to do something with its project overall, and it didn't work most of the time, but at least there was some things about it that I still more enjoyed than anything in the Minecraft movie. At least it was trying to be something smart or something clever, but all the people that went to all the people and all the other classmates in the room were just like, this sucks. You suck. You're stupid. And then a Minecraft movie is basically the kid who literally does nothing and has nothing prepared except to just do like make noises, make armpit fart noises and that type of stuff. And then everybody in the classroom goes like, "Yeah, we love this." Like, that's literally what happened at this movie. I'm not even kidding. They had people call the police because the Minecraft movie had people in there that had kids in there that were doing nothing but acting like fucking fools. Like, this is. Let me see if I can find the video here, because I saw this as just kind of like, you gotta be kidding me. And here it is right here. And it said, police had to kick several kids out of a theater during a Minecraft showing after their reaction to the chicken jockey scene. And I've got the video right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. And take a listen.
Okay, Stitch.
Yeah, you got these people in this theater that are just screaming at the top of their lungs for what? Like, and they show a picture of what was going on, of what happened after the movie was over. I'm looking at the picture right now. They completely destroyed this fucking theater that this happened in. Like, over the Minecraft movie? Like, also, what? Oh, okay, that's popcorn buckets. I was gonna say, I'm looking at this picture right here. It looked like the Pepsi soda drinks were like huge. I'm thinking to myself, what's going on there? Just like, and then realize, okay, that's popcorn. That's popcorn, which probably is like, I want to believe that this was probably is like I said, a TikTok clout chaser who said, you know, we're gonna try to make this we're not gonna be entertained by this. No, we want to make this movie feel like the most evil possible thing ever, because like this thing just made me like. This is, and another comment on here I think sums it up very well. Not sure a movie has made me feel more out of touch before. I really don't understand any of this. And that's exactly what it feels like with this movie. I have no idea why this movie was A, the big hit that it was, or two, why it's getting this huge reaction from people. Like, they're treating this movie like it's fucking RRR, one of those Bollywood movies, where it makes sense that the theater experience for a Bollywood movie is the most fun thing you can ever see. I mean, I've seen videos where people are watching stuff like RRR, or what's another one? Yasep, I think one of them is, and you just see people losing their minds in there. That's to be expected because something exciting is happening, something engaging is happening in that. But like a good Marvel movie can do that too. Avengers Endgame was still one of the best theater going experiences I've ever had. Like whenever it's like that's a movie where it makes sense to go crazy for the big moments. Like that Deadpool and Wolverine. We just had that last summer, and but this movie, I don't get it, man. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I hate the regime of Warner Brothers right now, and the fact that they've had several movies in the last couple of years that everyone else has seemed to really love, and I absolutely hated. Like, I hated Wonka, I hated Twisters, and I hated this movie. This is up there with the worst movies of the year, and you got these kids here that they're never gonna they're not going to remember this movie 10 years from now. I mean, I guarantee you, 5 years down the road, this movie will have no relevancy whatsoever compared to the Sonic the Hedgehog movies or the Super Mario Brothers movies. But if there's any positives I could give this movie, I mean, I said in my review, there's a couple things that I did like. I didn't hate this movie all the way through. There's only two things I will say I really did like about the film. I like the visual look of the movie. When you see the world that they're in, it's kind of cool. It looks like you're inside the video game. And for some reason, that subplot with Jennifer Coolidge is just... Maybe it's because Jennifer Coolidge is somebody who could take something as stupid as what she's given in this and actually make it kind of funny. But even then, it's not really funny. I'm just kind of like, this is kind of amusing. It'd be nice if I had some good funny moments in here, or at least a laugh or so. But yeah, there was none of that in this movie. And I was really just kind of like, what am I missing here? Like, it's like, it makes you wonder if the people that went to go see this movie basically went to go see it as kind of like a protest to something like a Snow White or, or Captain America Brave New World. Like, they're sticking it to Disney. Like, they didn't go there to experience the movie overall. They just wanted to stick it into Disney. And I wouldn't be surprised if some people out there did that. But I don't get it, man. Like, this generation of kids is so screwed up when we have to... It's not even for making this a success, but this is a generation that made Skibbity Toilet and Riz a success. Like, the Riz family a success. That family you see on TikTok. Like, just... Like, this generation is so screwed up, and it's just... I mean, I'm at a loss for words. I'm at a loss for words at how this movie did so well. I just can't believe it. And here's the thing. The cinema score on this is a B+, which Snow White, if you'll remember, got a B, but I think got a B+ as well, or at the very least a B, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check here. I'm thinking now it was more of a B cinema score. Let me see here. Critical response. No, it actually got the same rating as Minecraft movie, B+. So that should tell you maybe that this movie probably will not have much of a lasting impact at the box office. I think that next week we're going to see a heavy front-loaded movie. We're going to see a front-loaded movie this weekend, and then next week it'll drop down considerably, even though there really is not a whole lot of competition for the families. But it really feels like a film that's going to lose a lot of its audience next week. I really don't see this movie having any kind of legs to it. But again, there's not a whole lot of movies coming out next week to really combat it. In fact, we're not going to get another big kids movie until, quite frankly, Lilo and Stitch, when that comes out in mid-May, which I think that one's going to be a big success overall. I think that one's going to be... That's going to give Disney a brief reprieve for the live-action films, but yeah, I think that one will do well. What do I want to say here? I guess if I can give Minecraft movie any credit per se, it is proving that the video game movie era, the golden age video game movie era, is there. And, we're seeing it right here. Like, $157 million went to this movie. I mean, we've seen the success of the Super Mario Brothers movie and the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, Detective Pikachu, the Angry Birds movies, even Mortal Kombat came out not too long ago and did pretty well. I think Hollywood is starting to realize now that once you get people who have an idea of how the video game that they're working on works, and not just signing some hack director to make a film, you could turn out a pretty decent success overall. Like, granted, I don't know how faithful the source material to Minecraft the movie is, But if you get talented people involved here that know what they're doing and have a love for the source material and actually can make something good out of it or something entertaining to any kind of person in general, especially with this movie, it can work overall. And I'm really excited to see where the future of the video game movie goes from here. Like, with Minecraft being as successful as it is, don't be surprised if Fortnite gets a movie adaptation at some point. I mean, they're already working on Angry Birds 3, which that's one I'm definitely looking forward to because I like the other Angry Birds movies. We already got Sonic the Hedgehog 4 coming. We know Mario's coming out soon. Legend of Zelda got announced this week for a 2027 release date. I'm actually surprised Kirby hasn't gotten a movie yet. I think Kirby would be something that would make for a great kids movie. That is that if they get the right people involved here. I think right now we are in that age where we're getting good video game movies. I mean, I don't even think we've had our the Dark Knight equivalent of a good video game movie. If anything, I would probably say maybe the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Maybe Sonic the Hedgehog 3 might have been considered could be considered the Dark Knight of the video game movies as of right now, but it's opening the door for what the future of video game movies could be. So if there's anything positive I could say about a Minecraft movie, hey, it proves that people will go see video game movies if they're done very well and can get the hype up, and it'll make people like me who doubted the lasting factor of a Minecraft make me want to eat a steaming bowl of crow, which, yeah, I completely misjudged them on that. I will give them that, but. And for Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers has not been having the best track record as of late, but this was one of the movies produced by the current people behind Warner Brothers. Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy. Pamela Abdy, I think it is. Let me see. Yeah, Pamela Abdy. So clearly, Warner Brothers should be very smart and not get rid of these people who have been behind some of the most recent successes. And, oh wait, here's a story on the Hollywood Reporter that says that David Zaslav is already looking for people to replace these two. And it's just like, really? You've just had one of your biggest successes in a long time, and you're just going to be like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and replace you because you clearly are, is because I'm David Zaslav, and clearly I know what I'm doing because I'm the guy that says, fuck the Looney Tunes, I'm going to go ahead and destroy the building that they've been held to for nearly 100 years because I guess Bugs Bunny raped me when I was a kid or something like that. I mean, I don't know if that's certain or not, but no, there was a story out this week that, Mike DeLuca and Pamela Abdy are going to be replaced, and it's just like, why are you doing this? Like, why is it that all the people that should be getting fired are not getting fired, and the people that aren't getting fired are getting fired? That should not be fired are getting fired, especially if Sinners does as well as it does, which I think that movie is going to do really, really well, despite the fact that it's opening on Easter weekend. Easter weekend is not usually the best time to release an R-rated vampire movie, but when you have the star power of Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, and you spend a ton of money getting the film in your graces, and putting the marketing campaign to a T, and you've already got reviews coming out that are extremely positive, man, I can't wait to check this movie out, and I think it's going to do very, very well. I think it's going to be a big hit, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this whole thing turns out. I would like to think that, somewhere in his brain, David Zaslav has to look at what's going on with the movies that Warner Brothers had greenlit with Abdy and DeLuca and say, maybe I'm going to give myself a second chance on that. Maybe it's because I didn't put enough effort in advertising in Mickey 17 or the Alto Nights because those movies weren't the biggest hits. Which, by the way, Alto Nights was greenlit by Zaslav himself, so he should be the reason why that movie he should be the reason why he'd be out of a job for that one. But nope, blame the two people who've been clearly doing a better job at putting movies together than your sorry ass has. Okay. We've pretty much covered the box office in general, but it ties back into our first story of the week, which is a story that came out early on Monday, and hallelujah, we finally won, Wiley. We finally won. And that's the fact that, ladies and gentlemen, the rumors are true. We are going to see Coyote versus Acme. Warner Brothers has completed the sale. Deadline Hollywood reported the story. Warner Brothers has completed the sale for their previously shelved Coyote vs. Acme movie. Ketchup Entertainment today confirmed their completed deal for worldwide rights to the live-action animated hybrid film that brings Looney Tunes character Wile E. Coyote to the big screen. We had the deal pegged in the $50 million range, and the film is expected to get a theatrical release in 2026. Gareth West, CEO of Ketchup Entertainment, said today, "We're thrilled to have made a deal with Warner Brothers Pictures to bring this film to audiences worldwide. Coyote vs. Acme is a perfect blend of nostalgia and modern storytelling, capturing the essence of the beloved Looney Tunes characters while introducing them to a new generation. We believe it will resonate with both longtime fans and newcomers alike." Directed by David Green and written by May December scribe Sammy Birch, the film is produced by Christopher and DC Studios co-boss James Gunn. The film is based on the Looney Tunes characters in the New Yorker humor article Coyote vs. Acme by Ian Frazier. Will Forte, John Cena, Lana Condor, and Tone Bell star in the movie, which follows Wile E. Coyote, who after Acme products fail him one too many times in his dog pursuit of the Roadrunner, decides to hire a billboard lawyer to sue the Acme Corporation. The case pits Wile E. and his lawyer, Forte, against the latter's intimidating former boss, Cena, but a growing friendship between man and cartoon stokes their determination to win. Despite test screening well, the project had been a high-profile casualty of WB cost-cutting 2 years ago, and had been sitting on a shelf for more than a year. The studio reportedly screened the movie to a string of buyers in early 2024 with a price tag of $70 million, which is how much the film is said to have cost. Studio sources claimed that they didn't get any offers at the time. Bullshit. Shelving the movie puts noses out of joint with a tax of a potential tax write-down. Among those dismayed were Lego movie director Phil Lord. The film star Forte called the move fucking bullshit. His words, not mine. The Coyote deal by Ketchup marks a significant record outlay for the company, whose previous records had included Michael Keaton's star Good Rich, comic book reboot Hellboy the Crooked Man, Ben Affleck thriller Hypnotic, and Michael Franco's Jessica Chastain drama Memory. Ketchup last year rescued the same studios the day the Earth Flew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, which is the reason why we're here right now and why we're going to see Coyote vs. Acme in 2026. And quite frankly, there's nothing else more I can say about this except this. We did it! We won! Of course, that's from the greatest slow clap of all time, Lucas, but we did it, people. We supported a great movie that was screwed over by its studio that put it out, and lo and behold, we're finally going to get to see Coyote vs. Acme, and really, not much more you can say about it except we did it, people. We did it. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to that one next year, and hopefully it'll be out in more theaters, and not just me having to go out to another theater completely out of the way to go see it. Hopefully that will be the case that happens, and I figure they got to put all their money into this. They got to put all their eggs in this. I mean, to not put this in many theaters at all, and not even have a big promotional campaign for this, like, this movie's gonna sell very well, and hopefully it will prove to David Zaslav and the idiots which basically it's him, that Coyote vs. Acme definitely deserves to live. Definitely deserve to live. Definitely deserve to have a shot at it. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this movie to get made. So anyway, on to the stories from CinemaCon. So as I said before, CinemaCon took place this week, and that, of course, is where all the major studios go out to Las Vegas and invite all the theater exhibitors from not just in the U.S., but all over the world, and usually get to see a first look at what's coming out in 2025 and beyond. And you see it right before you even see the presentations. You see all the posters around. We got a first look at some big posters for Wicked for Good, some of the other big movies that were being shown off, But there was a lot of big news at this year's CinemaCon, starting off with Sony Pictures, who started it off on Monday night. And on Monday night, Sony Pictures showed off a lot of their stuff they got coming up, including the 28 Years Later sequels, the one directed by Danny Boyle and Nia DaCosta, and then that was followed by Darren Aronofsky's latest film, Caught Stealing, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, which is the film with Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell. Then they showed off the trailer for Karate Kid Legends, which comes out on May 30th, which looks pretty good overall. And they also, I'm reading off of the this website called nextbestpicture.com that recaps everything that happened at this year's CinemaCon. And after it says Karate Kid Legends, they showed off a preview for a reboot that I really don't understand why they're doing this. I know what you did last summer. Just like, well, because Scream has been a successful reboot, that's what you're going to do with this. But Zach Cregger came out to confirm he's directing the new Resident Evil movie that's coming out next year. And then they showed off some stuff that we kind of already knew about. We already knew that there was a third Jumanji film, but we didn't know that Jake Kasdan was coming back to direct it. We knew about Neil Blomkamp's remake of Starship Troopers. We knew about The Breadwinner starring Nate Bargatze, Clara and the Sun from Taika Waititi, Grand Gear, the English language debut for the director of Godzilla Minus One, and then the live-action Legend of Zelda film, which, as I said before, got a release date for March of 2027, which will be directed by Wes Ball, who just did Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And then we got a sneak preview of a sneak preview was revealed for Goat, which is the movie that Stephen Curry produced. And then speaking of that movie, which is a Sony Pictures animation film, we finally got it's probably the biggest thing that happened during the show was the fact that we got news about the Spider-Man movies in both live action and animation formats. We found out that Spider-Man's fourth film with Tom Holland as Peter Parker will be called Spider-Man Brand New Day. And of course, this is being directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who also did Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings, and will be coming out on July 31st, 2026. And some people have been saying that Brand New Day, you think back to, One More Day, and then what followed after that, Brand New Day, which I don't know if they're going to go in that direction, which it might. But then again, hey, No Way Home did One More Day better than the comics did. So if that's the way they're going to go with it, then so be it. But even bigger than that, Beyond the Spider-Verse officially got a release date, June 4th, 2027. So we gotta wait at least 2 more years, and if they gotta do it the right way, because you cannot give us a less than subpar sequel after what you were setting up Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. People will be mad at you for that. But it's nice to know that we're still about 2 years away from it actually happening and getting made. Assuming it gets delayed again, but who knows if that's actually what turned out to be the case. But the last big announcement that they made was the fact that Sam Mendes' Beatles movies are pretty much confirmed to be coming out in April 2028. Of course, Sam Mendes is going to be directing 4 different Beatles movies, with each film focusing on each specific Beatle. Like Paul Mescal's going to be Paul McCartney, Joseph Quinn's going to be George Harrison, Barry Keoghan's going to be Ringo Starr, and Harris Dickinson's going to play John Lennon. And it's a bold idea. It's an interesting idea overall. And I was saying before, with a movie like with a movie about the Beatles, I mean, like the Beatles and Michael Jackson are pretty much the same thing. Like, you can't really sum it down into one movie. And we're going to talk about what's happening with Michael Jackson's film coming up later in the year in just a little bit here. But I think it's I think it's a bold decision. I think it's a smart decision, and I'd be very curious to see how this one pans out in general. So that was some of the big stuff announced at Sony, and then Tuesday came around, and I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, Lionsgate and Warner Brothers on Tuesday. So Lionsgate got the party started on Tuesday morning, announcing a lot of stuff we kind of expected. More news from the John Wick universes. They basically covered their big franchises: John Wick, The Hunger Games, and I guess Now You See Me, because apparently they're already working on Now You See Me 4, which, why? Just why? But the big story was that John Wick is going to be coming into is going to have a brand new series of movies. Of course, it's going to start off with Ballerina coming out this summer with Ana de Armas, and the spinoff for that from the world of John Wick, which features an appearance by Keanu Reeves himself as John Wick. And apparently John Wick Chapter 4 is not the last film that will feature John Wick, because we are getting a John Wick 5, which is now in the works with the same people behind it, Chad Stahelski and Keanu Reeves. And then Donnie Yen's going to be featured in a spin-off focusing on his character Kane, which is coming out which is beginning production this summer. And then there's going to be an animated John Wick prequel with Keanu Reeves starring in it. And it's going to, it could be very, very interesting to see how this turns out, or it could be very much a let's exploit the hell out of this franchise that we have here. And it's pretty much the same thing you can say about the Hunger Games. But the Hunger Games overall has been really, really good. It's been a really good series all across the board. And essentially what they announced with that one is that we're getting Sunrise on the Reaping next year, and Billy Ray is going to be writing the script for that. But other than that, though, some trailers dropped for Aziz Ansari's Good Fortune, which also features Keanu Reeves in it as Aziz's guardian angel. It also features Seth Rogen, and we got a look at John Carney's new music-driven picture, Power Ballad, which stars Paul Rudd and Nick Jonas, which sounds pretty interesting, but sounds pretty odd, but could be very interesting. And they showed off a preview for Paul Fahey's next film after Another Simple Favor, The Housemaid, which features Sydney Sweeney, Amanda Seyfried, and Brendan Scaliner. Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried alone has got me excited to see this movie, man. I don't know too much about it, but it sounds like it could be very, very interesting overall. But we'll see what happens there. And, of course, they ended it with a preview of Hurry Up Tomorrow, the new Weekend movie, which could go one of two ways. It could be a movie that is so visually stunning and unique for the time, or it could just be very pretentious and very exploitive in so many ways, but we'll find out about that one sooner rather than later, because that's going to come out on May 16th. And then, as the night drew on Tuesday, Warner Brothers took the stage, and Warner Brothers got started right off the bat, showing off a look at one battle after another, which we saw the trailer for that last week, which looks pretty good overall. The $140 million budget definitely has me very concerned, but hey, it still looks pretty good regardless. And we also heard about, I say saw it like I was there, but we heard about, showing off clips from Final Destination Bloodlines. They showed off a dream sequence involving an MRI and peanut allergies, which, I mean, what do you expect from a Final Destination movie, honestly? But Zach Cregger showed off his new movie Weapons coming out in the fall, which the trailer for that premiered there. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what that is like, considering I like Barbarian a lot. And I've heard a lot of good things about Companion. F1 showed off a full trailer. I think that this was the first trailer they showed, and also the first 10 minutes. That one could be good too. Brad Pitt, Joseph Kosinski, director of Top Gun Maverick's working on it. It's an Apple movie though, and those have been more misses than hits. So, looking ahead to 2026, it looks like they showed off a little bit of The Bride with Maggie Gyllenhaal and Jessie Buckley showing up there. Maggie Gyllenhaal, of course, directing that movie. And then Warner Brothers Animation, this is probably the biggest thing they had there, because, they showed off a preview of their new projects. They showed off a first look at The Cat in the Hat, which comes out next February, which it's got Bill Hader taking on the role of the Cat in the Hat, which really could be very, very fun overall, and hopefully get that nightmare of the Mike Myers movie taken away from us. But they also showed off Meet the Flintstones. They're doing a Flintstones animated movie. They're doing another Dr. Seuss movie, All the Places You'll Go. Margie Claus, the first animated feature from Melissa McCarthy and dynamic duo with DC Studios, as well as an original musical called Bad Fairies. But more importantly, they also announced that they are going to be doing a Looney Tunes movie and a Tom and Jerry movie, which is very odd, but at least you're showing somewhat of an idea that you still care about these characters, even though you pretty much want to get rid of them and don't even want to acknowledge their existence anymore. But then, of course, the big thing that everyone was looking forward to with this was DC Studios. Superman, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. You probably haven't heard it on here, but I really do think Superman is going to be is kind of the equivalent to Batman 89. I think there is such a high demand for this, and it just looks like they're knocking it out of the park here, man. And I was at Steel City Con this weekend. There was a lot of people walking around with Superman t-shirts, Superman stuff all over the place for the new movie. There's a lot of crypto stuff. This thing, I think, is going to be a massive, massive hit. This could be the biggest movie of the entire year. And they showed off the sneak preview for it at the con, and then 2 days later it actually showed up online, which it still looks like a ton of fun, man. I think everything is working in the right direction for this to turn out to be really, really damn good. But the most shocking thing about this is that they did not promote anything else at DC Studios. They showed off Superman, and then they just basically pushed it off to the side. And then, it's very interesting. Like, I think what they're doing is that they're waiting to see how Superman plays out before they start going into the other stuff too. Which, I mean, considering that Warner Brothers is supposedly putting everything on all their chips on this one movie, like, I don't really blame him for that. I think that's something that you have to do, especially since you want to get this right and not do the same thing that you did 10 years ago, where it completely screwed up big time because you took half the time it took Marvel to put their cinematic universe together. So they're taking their time with it. So hopefully it'll turn out to be a good movie overall, a great movie overall. But I can't wait to see it, man. I can't wait to see it. And like I said, I think it's going to be the equivalent to Batman '89. I think it's going to have that kind of a spark to it right now. But again, we'll wait to see what happens as the buzz continues to build on it. But don't be surprised if it's the top movie of the year when it's all said and done. So that's Tuesday night. So let's go ahead and move on to Wednesday when Universal and Amazon MGM went to work. So one of the biggest things that Universal did at their CinemaCon presentation was show off the live-action How to Train Your Dragon movie, which I still have a lot of skepticism for because it just looks like a watered-down remake of the original movie, and I love the original How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, that's one of my favorite DreamWorks movies. But supposedly the reactions overall were very positive, as according to the article I have here, the press and the crowd praised it as maintaining the heart and soul of the original while elevating the epic score. Which is a definitely good sign going forward, but it's just that thought in the back of my head. I mean, how good can this movie really be when they're just going to rip off a really good movie in the original How to Train Your Dragon? But we'll find that out together when it comes out in June. But I will say this though, Epic Universe is starting to come together at Universal. I've been seeing stuff from the parks and all that in there, and from the park and the How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Burke area. I want to go to this place, man. I cannot wait to go there at some point because they have the Isle of Burke and they have these animatronics of all the dragon characters, and they just look so adorable. They look like so much fun, and just like, I can't wait to go there, man. I want to go down. I want to go down to back to Universal Orlando at some point. Hopefully that'll happen in the next couple of years. But How to Train Your Dragon, that was one of the big things they showed off. They didn't show anything off for Illumination, surprisingly. It was all about DreamWorks, pretty much. You know, they showed off the Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, which is apparently going to be a mix of live action and animation. And it's just like, okay, I don't really know how good of an idea that is, but okay, why not? Bad Guys 2 showed off some stuff. Craig Robinson actually showed up with an alligator, if I heard correctly, but I say that they didn't show off a whole lot of their Illumination stuff, but they did show little teasers of the Super Mario Brothers movie 2, as well as Minions 3, and also a little bit of Shrek 5, but nothing too crazy in terms of what the news was on that. But of course, they showed off Jurassic World Rebirth, which, I mean, I'm getting a little bit more excited for it. I'm still looking forward to it regardless. I've liked the other Jurassic World movies, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. It seems like they put a lot of emphasis on the horror front because you have the new film by Jordan Peele, who's producing Him, which is the film which is like a mix between, being described as a mix between a film in the vein of Whiplash and Get Out, where you have this guy who meets his favorite athlete, and I guess it's like a ritual sacrifice that happens in it. But then Jason Blum had a whole massive assortment of things to announce, including they showed off the teaser for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. They showed the trailer for Megan 2.0, which came online the following day, and that looks like it could be a ton of fun, a silly kind of fun. And then they showed off the spin-off Soulmate, which is like a spin-off where it's an erotic horror movie in which a robotic sex doll becomes sentient and determined to stay with her man at all costs, which sounds kind of similar to Companion when you think about it. But they showed off Black Phone 2, which comes out in October, and then the big thing was they showed off the teaser for Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which I didn't like the first one all that much, but I mean, it could be good overall. I mean, they have a chance to actually improve on some of the stuff that didn't work in the first film. And then the Focus Features had a bunch of stuff. The biggest one was being the Downton Abbey movie finale, the grand finale, if you will. And then you had Honey Don't by Ethan Coen, which is the second film that he did after Drive Away Dolls, which I really liked that movie last year, so I'm really looking forward to that one. Chloe Zhao's new film, Hamnet. Ronan Day-Lewis has Anemone. And then other than that, Wes Anderson had his teased the new movie he's working on, the Phonetics. I cannot read this. The Phoenician Scheme, I think it is, but regardless, it's a Wes Anderson movie. I love a lot of his movies, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then there was a trailer for Begonia, which stars Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone, which could be pretty good overall. But other than that, though, they didn't really show off anything else. They talked a little bit about the new Steven Spielberg movie and the Odyssey coming out next year, as well as they kept very quiet about Jordan Peele's and Daniel's new movie. And I said that but I completely misled you. The big thing they were revealing was Wicked for Good, and yeah, they showed off all the stuff for Wicked. They had Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande coming out singing from the movie, and I think they did show off some first looks at the footage there. And would not be surprised that trailer comes out sooner rather than later. But that film should be looking really, really good. I think it's going to be, big shoes to fill after what happened with the first Wicked movie. But the first Wicked movie was great. Can't wait to see what they do with the second one. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to Amazon MGM Studios. And as I said before, they were kind of the big winners during this. They showed off a lot of stuff that sounded very promising. They showed off the first look at Phil Lord and Chris Miller's new film, Project Hail Mary, with Ryan Gosling. Of course, based off of Andy Weir's book. It sounded like it got a big reception. And I mean, Ryan Gosling can usually put in a can be very funny. Fall Guy's a great example. Barbie 2. Colleen Hoover's Verite, they showed off that with Michael Showalter directing that, starring Anne Hathaway, Dakota Johnson, and Josh Hartnett. Luca Guadagnino showed off his new movie After the Hunt with Julia Roberts involved in it, as well as Ayo Edebiri and Andrew Garfield. Definitely one to look forward to. They showed off a little bit of Mercy, starring Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson. And then they showed off Crime 101 with Halle Berry and Chris Hemsworth. And then these other movies that sound really interesting, including this one, Three Bags Full, a Sheep Detective movie, which I thought was a Shaun the Sheep movie, but no, it's a movie where it's a whodunit murder mystery where sheep try to solve the murder of their beloved farmer, played by Hugh Jackman, and it sounds completely insane, and I can't wait to see what this first trailer for this is going to look like. But it's written by Craig Mazin, who, he's written a lot of good stuff. Chernobyl, The Last of Us, of course, he wrote the first Hangover movie. I'm very curious to see how that one's going to turn out when we actually get to see the footage of that. Is God Is another film they showed off with Vivica A. Fox in it. Michael B. Jordan was there to show off talk about some stuff for the Thomas Crown Affair. They showed a little bit of Masters of the Universe. Mahershala Ali's working on a movie, Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother. And then they brought in, and then the thing they wrapped it up with was The Accountant 2, which comes out at the end of the month. And supposedly we're going to make a ton of money, which I didn't even think the first film was that big of a hit overall. And I'm looking at the trailer for this one. I'm just thinking, I don't see I see two different movies here compared to the first Accountant and then the second one. But hey, they have a chance to prove me wrong at the end of the month. But and in case anybody was wondering, no, they did not announce anything for James Bond except the fact that Amy Pascal and David Heyman are working on it, which, I mean, it's not really that shocking considering that they literally just made that announcement a week ago. So what, you're going to find a new James Bond right away? No, it's going to take time to do that. Plus, you don't even have a director yet. But Amazon MGM Studios really came out swinging in that one, especially considering that, yeah, Amazon is a studio that is also puts out stuff on Prime Video, and this is basically, and they basically made the statement saying that, hey, theaters are the way to go, and we're going to prove that by showing off these projects that we think that people will be invested in. And I think they're very right on that. I think a lot of these projects could sound very promising overall, so we'll see what happens on that front. So let's go ahead and get to the last day that we have here, as Paramount and Disney wrapped it up on Thursday. And Paramount came out swinging on Thursday. The first thing they showed off was the Naked Gun trailer, which, man, that trailer was very good, man. I mean, that trailer just works so well. Liam Neeson is born to play the role of the son of Frank Drebin. I think that movie should be very funny. I really hope they aren't giving away the best jokes, which, I mean, The Naked Gun's my favorite comedy of all time. So yeah, I'm going to be very, very skeptical about this for obvious reasons. I mean, it's like them trying to remake Bambi. It's just like, you're touching something that holds very deeply in my heart. So you better know what you're goddamn doing. And sure enough, it definitely looks like they're heading in the right direction with that. So hopefully the trailers are a promising sign going forward. Of course, the big thing they showed off was the Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which I'm still cautious about how that's going to do. Apparently, we're going to get a new trailer tomorrow, which they were promoting it during the Final Four. And obviously, I'm definitely looking forward to see where they go from there. Hopefully, it turns out to be really good. They also showed off mentioning projects overall, like Scream 7. The Trey Parker, Matt Stone, Kendrick Lamar movie got pushed back to next year because it apparently hasn't, from what I heard, it hasn't started shooting yet. We learned about the name of the new Avatar movie that's coming out next January, The Legend of Aang. They announced Paw Patrol the Dino movie, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem sequel coming out next year. One of the big things was that Smurfs is coming out this summer. I'm still holding out hope that that's going to turn out good. And apparently, it also showed the trailer for the SpongeBob movie that comes out at Christmas time, which the SpongeBob movies overall have been very good, with the exception, of course, of Saving Bikini Bottom. But I like the Plankton movie, so I'm definitely looking forward to see what happens with that. Not much more in terms of like big things they showed off. Regretting You, they didn't have any actual footage of that. Roof Man, they showed a little bit of the trailer for that movie. What else did they show? I think that was it. I think that's all they did for Paramount. And then, to wrap things up, Disney finished the day off, finished the CinemaCon 2025 up on Thursday. And of course, one of the big things they started off with was Lilo and Stitch, which, like I said before, I think that's going to do very, very well. They showed off a little bit of Freaky Friday. They showed the trailer for Tron Ares, which actually made its debut online on Saturday. They made a big deal about Predator Badlands, which is going to actually hit theaters this November. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that movie. Let's see, what else did they announce? They announced stuff for... they showed off stuff for Searchlight Pictures, which includes Scott Cooper's Deliver Me From Nowhere with Jeremy Allen White from The Bear, starring as Bruce Springsteen. Nebraska, they showed off the... I'm sorry, I misread that wrong. I lost my train of thought there for a second, but James L. Brooks is back with a brand new movie, Ella McKay, which this is his first movie he's done since How Do You Know, and it features a cast that includes a lot of notable talent in that cast. Emma Mackey, Woody Harrelson, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kamal Nanjiani, Ayo Edebiri, Albert Brooks, Julie Kavner. Good cast overall in here, and it'd be nice to see James L. Brooks get back in the swing of things. How Do You Know was not a very good movie. They showed off a trailer for The Roses, which I think could be very, very interesting to see how that plays out. The War of the Roses is a great movie, man, and it works because it has a great dark ending to it that you don't see. Is that in a time when you had so many happy endings, it was refreshing to see a film that went completely dark, and it worked so well. So supposedly the trailer played very well there, so I'm really hoping we get to see that trailer sooner rather than later. And then, of course, the Marvel Cinematic Universe came out swinging. They had stuff for Thunderbolts, where they had the cast show up. They had a great bit where Wyatt Russell was like drunk because he lost like $37,000, and they had all the cast members bringing him in there, which I thought was kind of fun to see, the little bit of video footage that was out there. They showed off a new look at Fantastic Four First Steps, which includes Julie Gardner's Silver Surfer. They announced they showed off Zootopia 2 and Elio, the new Disney animated films for the year, which something I don't understand with people was that they looked at Zootopia 2 and the first thought they had on their minds was, well, Ke Kwan is making some really bad Oscar choices. It's just like, post-Oscar choices. It's just like, really? He's done 2 movies since he won the Academy Award, 3 movies. And Kung Fu Panda 4 was not bad. Love Hurts wasn't bad because of him. It was just a badly put together film. So don't tell me that Zootopia 2 is part of the reason why, he's on that post-Oscar curse thing. It's just like, get the hell out of here with that. And then, of course, you had a little bit of Avatar, Fire and Ash, and that's about it, man. Like Disney didn't really... Disney had some stuff that looked kind of interesting overall, but... I mean, yeah, that's basically what we got from CinemaCon. They got to show off some big previews for stuff that I'm really looking forward to seeing, and hopefully they turn out pretty good when we actually get to see the stuff. So with that said, let's go ahead and get to the next story. So this is a very interesting story that I had to look at. I think a lot of people looked at it because it came out on April 1st, and everyone thought, okay, this is a joke, right? Quentin Tarantino and David Fincher working on a film with Brad Pitt, and it's a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Get the hell out of here with that. But no, it's legit. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is getting a follow-up film with Brad Pitt, and David Fincher going to direct a Quentin Tarantino script. And this is the Hollywood Reporter reporting this, saying, stuntman and movie aficionado Cliff Booth and his TV star buddy Rick Dalton may be getting back together. A follow-up to Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is being assembled with David Fincher and not Tarantino in the director's chair. It also has Brad Pitt and possibly Leonardo DiCaprio circling to reprise their popular and award-winning roles. Tarantino wrote the script for the feature project, which is set up at Netflix, so it could go before cameras by late summer, according to one source. And while it is April 1st, the news is not an April Fool's joke. It's also ostensibly not a sequel to Once Upon a Time, but a derivative that takes inspiration from it. The playlist for support on the film. The mystery project is also not the movie critic, according to one insider. That was the 10th title for the feature being developed by Tarantino to serve as his 10th and ostensibly his final film. So essentially they're doing another Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie, which is very interesting because that's one of my lesser Quentin Tarantino movies that I like of his, but I don't hate it overall, and I think Brad Pitt should have got... I'm glad he got the Oscar. I wish he would have gotten it for Curious Case of Benjamin Button or a much better movie in general, but it is an interesting idea, and a sequel directed by David Fincher. Keep in mind, David Fincher was going to do World War Z 2 at one point, and then that project went nowhere. So it'll be very interesting to see what he would do with a sequel like this. It's a very interesting news story indeed, and I'm kind of curious to see if it actually gets made. Yeah, we'll see what happens on that front there. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood follow-up coming soon. So let's go ahead and move on to, let's talk about the Michael Jackson biopic. I mentioned it a little bit. There was a big story this week about really something that probably should have been done beforehand, but now they're just figuring out, oh, maybe we should do it this way. And that is the fact that the Michael Jackson biopic could actually be splitting up into 2 movies. So this is again from The Hollywood Reporter, who said that Lionsgate closed out its Las Vegas presentation a year ago with a surprise, lengthy look at Michael, with the footage that, while turning the Caesars Palace Coliseum into a concert-like atmosphere and getting a strong response. Producer Graham King revealed that the Michael Jackson biopic would include 30 songs and have a lengthy runtime in order to do justice to the late pop star's story. Now, King and his fellow filmmakers are mulling a new reality for the project, with the superstar's on-screen story could be further expanded across 2 features, but it's a plan that's in the very early stages, sources tell The Hollywood Reporter. The news about a potential 2-part Jackson movies project comes after rumors of trouble on the production, as outlined in a Puck report in January. The report noted that the film's third act needed to be reworked as it features a dramatization. I've said this word so many times before, I can't get that right down. Dramatization of a Jackson accuser who had a past settlement with the estate guaranteed he would never be featured in a dramatization. According to the Puck, the estate has overlooked the deal when signing off on the movie, which is his backing. By possibly splitting the movie into 2, it could allow the filmmakers some breathing space to fix this issue. King is said to be championing this option. Still, moving from 1 film to 2 will require the sign-off from multiple partners, including the Jackson estate, along with Lionsgate, which is releasing the film domestically, and Universal, which is releasing the film internationally. While the plan is still in nascent stages, the film's October 3rd release date will likely be pushed to allow reworking for the new format. Antoine Fuqua directs Michael, which stars the nephew of the late pop star Jafar Jackson. Nia Long, Laura Harrier, Miles Teller, and Coleman Domingo round out the cast. And like I said before, man, this is something that they should have been doing a long time ago when they were announcing this movie. It's just like, Michael Jackson's story is so fascinating and just something that you can't squeeze it down into 1 movie. It just can't be done. Like, I really hope that they do this. If you want to be honest with you, I'd say go with 3 movies. Like, do 3 separate movies. Do 1 film where it's Michael Jackson at the time that when he was growing up and becoming the star that he was with the Jackson 5, then do a second film focusing on his big boom in the 80s and the 90s and then with the third film, then you do the story where you talk about the allegations, the sexual assault allegations, all the controversies that went on behind the scenes with him, and the trials and all that stuff that was going on with him. Like, you can't just expect to do this all in 1 movie. This guy is arguably the greatest musician of all time, and if you think you're going to try to squeeze all that into 1 movie, you better hope that you have a damn good script and not just rehashing the same crap that you did with other musical biopics, which sadly this is written by the same guy that did Bohemian Rhapsody, which definitely is not a good sign going forward. But I'm hopeful that this actually turns out to be the case. Like I said before, this is something that needs to be done in more than just 1 movie. It can't just be 1 film. It's got to be multiple films. And hopefully they'll do that. And, yeah, I think it's the best way to go. So, quick thoughts on that one. Let's move on to the next story. And this is something that was kind of teased last week with the news that American Dad would be moving back to Fox. But now they've officially confirmed not only that, but they've given massive 4-season pickups to The Simpsons, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, and American Dad. Again, this is The Hollywood Reporter. I'm just finding the story on there, so I might as well just stick with the website. Fox is locking in its animated cornerstones for the remainder of the 2020s. In a huge commitment to longer-running shows The Simpsons, Family Guy, and Bob's Burgers, the network has ordered 4 more seasons of each show. Additionally, Fox officially announced that American Dad will return to the network in 2025, also with a 4-season order. The renewal will take all 4 series through the 2028-29 season. The Simpsons will extend its already ludicrous run through its 40th season, and depending on the episode count for the coming seasons, will likely approach 900 episodes by the end of the order. Family Guy will run through its 27th season, Bob's Burgers through its 19th, and the order for American Dad will encompass seasons 20 through 23 by Fox's count. All 4 shows come from 20th Television Animation. Fox's streaming deal with Hulu, which the two renewed late last year, likely played a role in securing the multi-season renewals. American Dad, Bob's Burgers, and Family Guy all stream on the Disney-owned platform and led later to our mainstays in Nielsen's weekly top 10 streaming rankings. American Dad sometimes shows up on the charts as well. The Simpsons streams exclusively on Disney Plus, where it occasionally breaks into Nielsen's top 10, but is nonetheless a reliable draw for viewers. And really, this really isn't much of a surprise that they're keeping these shows going. I would actually be kind of surprised. I was just more surprised of the orders that they did here, because it's a 4-season order. They're taking it all the way to the end of the decade, and usually it's a 2-year deal. As the song goes, you'll never stop The Simpsons. At this point, the people that are saying Simpsons should go away, just get over it, man. It's never going away. Like Family Guy, of the shows on there, Family Guy I think would be the one that I think would need to go away, because the show Family Guy is the lesser of the 4 shows on there. But it can be funny every once in a while. The episode they had tonight was pretty good. That was on after The Simpsons, which that was also a good episode. And again, not much more to say about that one, but I'm really excited to see these shows continue on. These are kind of a tradition that I still go, one of the few TV traditions I still have left, watching The Simpsons, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, American Dad on Fox Sunday nights. And, I'm still excited for this regardless what anyone says, So yeah, quick one on that one. So let's go ahead. We've got about 2 more stories to cover here, and then I want to talk about something else, but let's go ahead and move on to our next story. And that is the fact that we may actually be getting the final Friday movie after all these years. Deadline Hollywood put the story out first, and it said, although it's only hump day, Ice Cube is getting audiences ready for the weekend as he returns to the role that started it all. The Grammy winner has inked a deal with Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema to write and reprise his role as Craig Jones in Last Friday, the 4th installment in the Friday series that includes Friday, Next Friday, and Friday After Next. New Line CCO Richard Brenner revealed the news in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter after he closed the deal with the star, who previously teased that the sequel had finally gained some traction in June 2024. They had new leadership. My man Mike DeLuca, who used to be at New Line when I first started, when I first did the first Friday in Players Club and All About the Benjamins, Mike DeLuca was there, he explained at the time. So now he's running Warner Brothers, added Ice Cube, and add him, and my man Michael Gruber was like, yo, what the fuck is going on with Friday? Man, let me get this shit back online. I'm doing a horrible Ice Cube impression, so Ice Cube, if you're listening out there, I'm sorry, man, I'm just reading it like it is, but yeah, this is something they've been talking about doing for a long time, and hey, if they can get Chris Tucker to come back and play Smokey again, it'd be very interesting to get the gang back together again. Of course, you can't do it without John Witherspoon, but the first Friday is still one of my a great movie, man. That is still one of my favorite scenes in movie history. The ending of that movie, where Ice Cube's character is about to get into a fight with Tiny Lister, who, yeah, he's also gone too. Like 3 people from that movie are dead, which it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle that now. But that great scene at the end where he's about to fight Tiny Lister, and you think that he's going to use this gun that he's been tasing with throughout the course of the movie. You think he doesn't, and then all of a sudden it's just a flashback to everything that he's being taught at that point, and it just flashes back to the moment, and you find out that was basically a what-if situation. Like, what if he had pulled the gun and all that, and he decides, no, he's just going to go ahead and punch him and beat the crap out of him, and I'm kind of like simplifying it here, but I'm going to go into more detail at it later on in another video coming up later in the year, but I'm very curious to see where they will go with this. The sequels to Friday are not bad, but they are not the first movie. The first movie I still think is the best of the bunch, even though I like Mike Epps in those movies that's in the sequels. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this new Friday film plays out. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with it. So we got one more news story to cover here, and then I want to cover the well, this is also kind of a big story, but it kind of ties into back into what I was saying about, Snow White bombing at the box office. So what does this mean for live action remakes at Disney going forward? Well, if one story I heard this weekend is any indication, we're going to hear about some notable changes going forward with the live action films coming up here. I think Disney is finally starting to realize that we may need to take a step back here. And that is the fact that the Tangled remake, which we had kind of talked about before, that Michael Gracey was going to direct it, is no longer in development. According to the Hollywood Reporter, it says here, Tangled, Disney's live-action remake of the 2010 animated feature focusing on the Brothers Grimm fairy tale heroine, has been put on pause, according to studio insiders. The project had been in active development with The Greatest Showman helmer Michael Gracey on board to direct, and a script by Jennifer Caton Robinson. The pause occurred in the wake of the rather underwhelming release of Disney's latest live-action adaptation, Snow White. The movie only grossed $69 million domestically and $145 million worldwide on a production budget of $270 million. Of course, they're talking about all the controversial headlines and all that, but it says it remains unclear whether Tangled will move forward down the road or undergo a creative rethink. Since the early 2010s, Disney has embarked on a live-action feature strategy that relied heavily on returning to the library and repurposing its old titles. Some of them worked very well, including Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin and the Lion King, while others did not, Dumbo and Pete's Dragon. Recently, Barry Jenkins' Mufasa the Lion King had a slow start with a $35 million domestic opening before picking up steaming and ended up with an impressive $718 million globally. Before this, The Little Mermaid earned a tepid $570 million. But Snow White seems to be testing the limits of that strategy. The coming 15 months will offer 2 more live-action remakes to gauge audiences' appetite, and each one has glimmers that offer Disney reason to believe they will be successful. Lilo and Stitch, which we mentioned before, surfs into theaters May 23rd. During this year's Super Bowl game, a spot featuring Stitch crashing the field generated 173 million views in 24 hours, making it Disney's most viewed spot digitally. The trailer also became the second most watched Disney live-action trailer of all time. Meanwhile, the live-action Moana is set to sail July 10th, 2026. That film has the benefit of being based off of one of the biggest movies streaming on Disney+, surpassing 1.4 billion hours, which Disney has pointed out is equivalent to streaming the film over 735 million times, or playing the Grammy-winning Oscar-nominated song How Far I Go on repeat for more than 50,000 years. And it also comes a few months after the animated sequel Moana 2 grossed $1 billion when it was released last November, and becoming the third highest grossing film of 2024. Tangled's pause also comes as some of the architects of Disney's live-action feature strategy have exited the studio's executive ranks, and a new infusion has taken place. In February, Darius Sursek was named the head of live-action theatrical films, reporting to David Greenbaum, president of Disney Live Action and 20th Century Studios, who replaced Sean Bailey last year. So yeah, look, I've said that I don't hate Snow White like everybody else does, and there's things about Snow White I did like. I think it's not as bad as people make it out to be, but as much as I've been kind of a champion, not really a champion, but I don't hate the live action remakes like everybody else does. But I agree that Disney needs to take a step back from some of these, because it's getting ridiculous with some of these movies, and as we saw with Snow White, like, people are getting sick and tired of them. I mean, look at how well Minecraft did. I mean, like, it makes a lot of sense that this is now the time to do this. Like, I think Lilo and Stitch will be very successful. Moana's one where they're really pushing their luck with that one. But yeah, I really think that this is the right move to go with here. Like, they need to put the focus back on doing more original stuff here. Like, they can't just keep going with, just reopening up the library and doing the same movie all over again. Like, you have to do something original and creative with it. And supposedly they were already working on casting for this. I heard that Sabrina Carpenter was at one point considered a front runner to be in this movie, this new Tangled film they were working on, which not like a lie, it's actually pretty good casting overall. But yeah, they just need to take a break from it, per se. Like, they really just don't need to. They just need to step back. They don't have to stop doing these, but they just need to take their time and just work on some new stuff. Like, do something new and creative. Like, we need you to be the Disney that you used to be. Like, we don't need to see remakes of these other movies. Like, it's more like, let's just put it this way: if the Tangled remake is taking a step backwards, do not be surprised if we see that the Hercules movie that Guy Ritchie's working on, the Robin Hood movie they're doing, the Aristocats movie that Questlove is directing, and especially the Bambi remake, which they were gonna do it with the writers they had, and Sarah Polley was gonna direct it, but then she dropped out. I would not be shocked at all if all those projects get canceled. Like, I would love it if the Moana remake didn't get made, but apparently it's already completed filming, so we're gonna get it at some point. Like, it's one of those times where it's just like, this is one of those times where I think Disney has the capacity to just say, we're gonna go ahead and put this as a tax write-off. We don't want to show this movie to anybody, and really, I don't think anybody would mind it, because we don't need to see a live-action Moana movie, especially considering that it's coming out not even 10 years after the friggin' movie came out. Just get the hell out of here with that. But yeah, it is very interesting that Disney seems to be getting the hint that we're sick and tired of seeing these live-action remakes, and hopefully this is the sign that there are better things going forward for the Mouse House. I mean, they've been kind of in the lull the last couple of years, so this is something that I think this needs to work out in their favor, and I think they're finally listening to people. So it's really going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But so those are all the big news stories this week. But there's one more big story that I want to cover regarding an actor who had his hits and misses in terms of like his films and some of his appearance in some projects in like real life. But of course, the tragic end of his career was something that happened almost 10 years ago, and it finally came to an end this past week. And that is, of course, unfortunately, the fact that Val Kilmer died on Tuesday at the age of 65 years old. He died of pneumonia, and this was a guy that, before this, he was diagnosed with throat cancer, and he went through a procedure, a tracheal procedure that damaged his vocal cords, leaving him with severe difficulty speaking. And he also went under chemotherapy. He had like 2 tracheectomies, and of course, that led to his death. At the age of 65 of pneumonia. And it got really bad for him. Like, he had a procedure on it to reduce his voice to a rasp, and it rendered him short of breath. And he was still making movies. Like, he was in The Snowman that year, but then of course he was in Top Gun Maverick, where it was interesting how that is when you watch it again. I just watched that scene again recently where he shows up at the end with Tom Cruise, and the fact that they did not use AI for that scene in particular, but they used his actual voice and digitally altered it with clarity, like, that's the way you can make AI work in so many ways. Like, that's something where, like, more movies need to do what they did with Top Gun Maverick. I think that was a smart move to do that, and it's just a shame that this guy's gone, man. Because yeah, he had that time in the mid '90s where, he was doing these things where he was being seen as kind of an asshole to people on the set, especially on the Island of Dr. Moreau was one of the big ones where he really was just like he got under everybody's skin while making that movie. But then again, that film in particular was such a disastrous project to begin with, and the fact that they got it out there the way they did, it's just like, good lord, like. But I mean, the guy was a star right from the get-go. Like, Top Secret is a brilliantly underrated movie directed by the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrams. Like, that, this was coming off of Airplane. Just a really funny movie, man. One that I'm really excited to watch again when I get the 4K set with that has it in there with Airplane and the Naked Gun. Like, I can't wait to check that one out. But great movie. Then 2 movies later, he's doing Top Gun, and then all of a sudden his name is already right out of the gate, coming out of the gate swinging. Like, I put a list together of great movies that you need to see with Val Kilmer in them. Top Secret's in there, Top Gun, Willow, criminally underrated stuff like True Romance, The Doors. Thunderheart's a very underrated movie too. Of course, you got to throw in Tombstone, Batman Forever, where I thought he was a pretty good Batman. Heat, of course, is a classic. I love The Saint. The Saint, I think, is a very underrated movie that didn't get the proper credits back then, but it was actually a pretty good movie with him and Elizabeth Shue. The Prince of Egypt is a classic movie, a great movie to watch, especially with Easter coming up. He was great in Wonderland, playing John Holmes. That was a great movie that he was in. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, one of my all-time favorite movies. MacGruber, I thought he was very good as the villain in that movie. That was a fun film overall. I think I've covered most of the ones that I think are very good of him that he's in. I'm trying to think of what else he was in. Here's something I completely forgot about. He was Kit in the remake of Knight Rider. And I remember this because it was originally going to be Will Arnett who was going to do the voice of Kit, but because Will Arnett was in a deal with another car company, I think it was because of that. But yeah, I got it right here. It says here that Will Arnett was originally the voice of Kit, but he recorded his role for the pilot episode, but he was fired 2 weeks after the pilot aired because Ford Motor Company informed NBC that he was the voice of GMC trucks, and so Val Kilmer essentially came in at the last minute. I don't know, I remember that he was in it, but that show unfortunately didn't last very long. I'm kind of curious if there is any notable difference in that I would expect from him in that, because I don't know. I just want to hear what he actually sounds like here.
I'm gonna try something.
I'd advise against it.
Why? You don't even know what I'm gonna do.
I rely on past performance to indicate future action. Prepare for impact.
Hit turbo boost. Now I'm gonna turn my
Okay, that was... I don't think I ever expected in my life to hear Val Kilmer screaming at the top of his lungs like that. Especially since it starts off sounding normal, but then all of a sudden you hear that scream and it's just like, what the heck?
Now I'm gonna turn my It's no fun being predictable. Kid, you scream like a girl.
He's not wrong. I gotta check that show out again, man. I think I saw one episode, but I never got to see the rest of the show. Honestly, didn't look too bad from what I remember from it, but that's probably a fun little way to go out on this. I mean, Val Kilmer's a great actor. It's somebody that I really had heard a lot of good things about overall with him. But yeah, it's sad to see him go the way he did. But rest in peace, Val Kilmer. You lived a great life. You starred in so many great movies. We're all gonna miss you, man. You were a terrific actor. So rest in peace, Val Kilmer. With that said, let's go ahead and do the recommendations and get the heck on out of here. And in terms of new releases, it's mostly just catalog stuff, but some good catalog stuff. Arrow Video's putting out a new 4K version of a criminally underrated Rennie Harlan movie, The Long Kiss Goodnight, with Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson, written by Shane Black. Very good movie, very underrated movie that was not the big hit that it was back then, but has been since regarded as one of the more underrated movies from the 90s. Criterion's putting out Some Like It Hot, the classic Billy Wilder movie with Jack Lemmon in drag and Marilyn Monroe. Very, very funny movie, and that's really about it. Two great new releases of classic movies. But other than that, though, not a busy week for new releases in general, because we are in that pattern where, last week we had the big releases of all these big movies like Mufasa and Dogman, Complete Unknown, and then the week after this, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 will be the big main focus of the big new releases, along with some other films as well. But yeah, this week I would say check out Long Kiss Goodnight's 4K new release and Some Like It Hot. But with that said, it is now close to 2 o'clock, and it's been a long, long weekend, and I'm going to go ahead and get some sleep after I put this together. So thank you guys so much for watching and listening to this, and more laid back than usual because it's been a long, long weekend working the Comic-Con, and it's fun, but yeah, it takes a lot out of you, so I'm going to be feeling for the next couple of days, after I'm done putting this together and putting it out there, I'm going to bed, so... With that said, next week I'll be back in my normal state of mind, and we'll do the show like we usually do. So, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check out the last episode I did, as well as the playlist. And with that said, I'll see you guys next week. And until then, we are out.